Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platform, and I am joined here as always with my partner in crime, Sam Schneider from Primetime Sports Talk, and this is another episode of Jungle Talk. Woo!
Hoo day, baby.
Yeah, hoo day. And we are here to preview our Thursday night game coming up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So our first primetime game, and I think this is Burrow's first primetime game, is it not?
You know what? Actually, that's a really good question. You put me on the spot, but I think it probably is.
I think I read that.
I don't even know that we had any primetime games last year, did we?
I think we
maybe,
had
maybe
one.
like a Sunday, maybe like a Sunday night.
No,
Steelers.
You know what? He had
we had a Thursday
against Cleveland. So this is
right.
not his first one, but this is the last one. So this is the second.
Right.
Because I don't think we had another one after that. So
no, definitely not.
So but with that, we've got this game coming up. Short week. We're going to go through everything. I've got the injury report, so we'll do this as we always do. First, we'll go through the good. We'll go through the bad. We'll go through the bad first. First, tell them before we forget, bang that subscription button. That's all we ask. Subscribe, please. That's all we ask. Support the channel. And
wait, hold on 1 second, Mark. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are we asking for money for subscribing?
No money. Just subscribe and support. That's all we ask of you.
So it's free. This is like the premium package.
This is the premium package, and we don't ask you for any money.
Amazing.
So it's like I said, what a deal.
We're a couple of philanthropists, is what.
There you go. That's it. We are doing, our charity work here by donating our time to this cause.
That's right.
Something we're both passionate about. So we like to keep the show by fans for fans. So just as fans, we just ask you to support the channel. Tell them where they can find all your stuff, and then we're going to jump right in.
Sure. I write for Primetime Sports Talk, like Mike said. You can find, or like Mark said, excuse me.
There you go.
Yeah, and you know what? I so many UMs. That
Mike, Mark, you were close.
I work with all you M&Ms. You can find us at primetimesportstalk.com. You can find me on Twitter at buy and sell you, and you can find the website on Twitter at talk primetime.
There you go. So with that, we're going to jump right in, and we'll get into the bad. First, things we're not feeling good about coming into this game. My biggest concern, and this is my biggest concern, is that we're looking past this game. It is a big concern of mine because this is a team, obviously, we should handle, but I've said this before, this is the kind of game that quality teams win these games. They do not look past them. They take everything 1 week at a time. They don't look any farther down the schedule than this game. Go in there, be ready, be prepared, and win. Because if you let your guard down, believe me, Jacksonville, this is Trevor Lawrence's first exposure to national TV as a Jaguar. And believe me, he's going to be motivated to show his best stuff. So
yeah, and it's a winless team. So each and every week they're getting a little more desperate. They're wanting to pull out, a few more of the stops. And, already you beat Pittsburgh one time this season, and all of a sudden the fans are like, man, we're going to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, let's make the Super Bowl Thursday night.
Right.
But because like you, Mark, I wrote down the exact same thing. The second thing on my list is a Pittsburgh letdown on Thursday night football.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. And, there's already enough problems with Thursday night football. We hear it every year. It's a short week. The players hate it. People don't have time to heal from injury. There's not enough time to put a game plan in place. There's all kinds of things that already go into Thursday night football without having to worry about a letdown from what is a really, really big win that just happened a few days ago.
Yeah, it's just natural to have a letdown. And so, but they have to remain focused. That's my biggest thing. And I said here, nothing to lose, national audience. That was my second thing. So we just kind of had them reversed there.
Right.
Awuzie and Waynes. We don't know if we're going to have Awuzie. Wayne's a full practice, which is on my good list. So we'll go through the injury report, but that troubles me. And then I put down here, Miles Jack. He's there. Devin Bush, he's there. I won't say TJ Watt because TJ Watt's on another plane, but he certainly is their most formidable person on defense. So
yeah, they're they've been beaten up this year. They lost 37-21. They lost 31-19. they lost 23-13. So they've given up points in chunks. But make no mistake, I mean, they're not, an absolute pushover defensively,
No.
even though two of those teams in the Texans and the Broncos are not exactly offensive juggernauts.
Right.
But regardless, once again, these are guys playing under the lights. These guys are playing under or in front of a national audience. There's a lot of pride on the line, and that's when I think the Jaguars only have 5 sacks so far this season, and they would like nothing more than to like double that total
Right.
in a Thursday night football game. So that makes me that I'm with you. And I wrote down the injuries too. Awuzie, we talked about it in the post game. It's a groin injury. We said
Right.
he could be back Thursday. We said he could be back in 6 Thursdays from now.
Right.
It's just there's no way of knowing. I'm operating under the assumption that we're not going to have him.
Right.
Trey Wayne's having a full practice is huge.
Right. That's part of my good, but yeah, that's
and Higgins, I don't feel great about Higgins because if he's limited in practice with a shoulder injury, I don't know if you've heard this, Mark, but it turns out when you're a wide receiver, you need your shoulders to try to catch footballs.
Yeah, that would help. Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes me a little nervous. My only other thing that I wasn't feeling good about is that even though they've done a lot of turning the ball over this season, with the possibility of Awuzie being out, that means you're still going to have Eli Apple and or Darius Phillips going in and out of the game. They're going to have the ability to pick up passing yards in chunks. I mean, you got our old buddy Marvin Jones has got 17 catches for 194 yards on the season. DJ Chark has 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Laviska Shenault, you shall not pass, is he's no slouch either. The only thing I'll say is that Lawrence has not been very accurate. He's got like a 55% completion percentage. So when I say Jones has 17 catches, that's on 28 targets. That's not very good. But obviously they're throwing the ball an awful lot. I think they have.
Well, they've been behind in every game. Yeah, a lot of those numbers you said, those games were already decided. They, because of the Iron Bowl play where they returned a field goal for a touchdown, that's what made that game close at half. But other than that, the second half they were blown out. The other 2 games they've been trailing big.
Right. And we know a little something about that too. You know what I mean? About, being behind late and just having to throw the ball and throw the ball and throw the ball.
Right.
And so I think, if our secondary is banged up at all, I think Bates was limited in practice or did not practice today with a neck.
Bates did not practice. And by the way, T. Higgins did not practice. He wasn't limited practice. He didn't practice. Gotcha. Yeah, he didn't practice today.
So, Bates is a little concerning because we didn't hear anything about it. I'm crossing my fingers that is he's a veteran. He doesn't have to be practicing. They're giving him some time off. Maybe he's got a little stinger or something like that. And that he'll be out there. Cause I think if it was bigger than that, we would have heard something in one of the press conferences.
Well, I think he might, it would be one of those things to where he might have done limited practice. I mean, if on the short week, if you have a player that needs some time, you're going to give him everything off. Like a guy like Bates, you're going to just have him show up Thursday and play. You're not going to have him going through practice on Monday, Tuesday.
And there's no practice on Monday. So, I mean, today was the first opportunity for those guys to even get out there. And the same thing goes for Riley Reif. He turned his ankle in that game. As far as I know, he came back in. He, I believe, was limited today, if I'm not mistaken, Mark.
He was limited today. And they did practice Monday. When you have a Thursday game, you don't get the day off. You're going to come and get your mini bye. So we did have practices on Monday.
Gotcha. I didn't think we actually did, but
just on the short weeks, all the teams do because everything's accelerated. I mean, you're literally squashing, and this is what the players complain about. You're squashing 6 days into 3 days.
Sure. So anyway, but Reef, I think it's the same idea. I mean, he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing over there. He turned his ankle. They'd probably rather he not turn it again in practice. So, take the day off, big man, and we'll get you ready to go.
Yeah.
In time for the game. So I didn't want to get too carried away on that, but like I said, with the possibility of a banged up secondary, Jacksonville's ability to possibly pick up yards in big chunks, which they haven't done a lot of this year, is a little bit worrisome.
Right. The only other things I had was I did have Marvin Jones. We seem to, Nick Vigil had a game that he's never had for any of us. He had in week
Right.
one. It's just kind of indicative. So I'm concerned that Marvin Jones comes with that little bit of extra effort. I'm not concerned about he's been gone from the team so long. It was a Marvin Lewis team when he left. So it's not like he has any intel about the team, but they seem to get up. They seem to get up for us. And
it's not like a revenge game or anything either, where like he just left or we didn't want to pay him and he just left last year.
Right.
I mean, it's been a while at this point, but he's still a very capable receiver.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's definitely, the best one on the team right now, as far as the numbers are concerned.
Yeah. And the last thing I'm going to comment on, and it's not specifically about this game, it's just in general, because one of the things that we got was Tyler Boyd making some comments about the Steelers quitting and things like that. And my attitude is just shut up. Don't give any team. So now you don't think the Tomlin and the Steelers are going to be revisiting that when we see them? I think it's in week 12. Why even do that? I am right along the Patriots. Belichick would have fined you internally. You would have been disciplined internally. Shut your mouth.
Belichick might have actually come up to you while you were at the podium and dragged you away.
Yes.
Kicking and screaming and been like, no. We have no more comments.
Yeah. As much as I love Tyler Boyd, that kind of stuff, just team wide, stop it. You don't ever need to give motivation to your opponent. If you were going to make a comment like that, make it after our second game when we're not going to see them for a year. Right. Do not make it. So now, believe me, they'll be revisiting those comments. Tomlin addressed him today in his presser. He said, I don't care what Tyler Boyd says. I don't feel I have to respond to anything that an opposing player has to say, and just left it at that. But clearly it's on their radar. They've seen it. They're aware of it.
Well, and
let's not do that stuff. Stop it.
And don't get me wrong, the just the fan in me, not an analyst, but just the fan in me still gets a kick out of it. You know what I mean?
I know.
And I'm like, yeah, they did lay down. Yeah, Tyler, you tell them. And then when you stop and think about it, you're like, no, Tyler, no, stop.
Yeah, you know what? You want to do your talking? Let's win the North, okay? Let's get to the playoffs. Do your talking that way. Don't just keep it up. So that was the only other bad thing I said. It's not specific about this game, but I would hope after winning, we would have nothing but complimentary. Just don't give teams other motivation. So do you have anything else on the bad, or are we good?
Nope, that's all the bad I got. I'm feeling good.
All right. So let's go to the good. Thing I'm feeling good about. Number one, CJ Anderson got traded to Carolina, so we don't have to face him. Part of me, I tweeted this out. If you want to look at my Twitter, as soon as the news broke yesterday, or maybe it was today, I said, I really wish we had done that trade, shipped off maybe Uzama or Sample and a pick, and we would have grabbed, because we could have really used, somebody. So Eli Apple isn't on the field, but it was Carolina that made that trade. And, but we won't have to face him, which is a good thing. They're bringing in Trey. One of the reasons why they probably made the trade was because Trey Herndon is now ready. He's coming back. He's probably going to make a season debut this week. Who's their other corner? He had a knee injury. He hasn't played since he was put on the COVID list end of last year. But still, I'm glad that their best corner, going into the season is not on their team. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, I do too. I feel good about it, as you'd expect based on the way we've played this year. Most of my stuff has to do with the defense.
Yeah.
But
that was my next thing, but go ahead. Yeah.
But before I even get there, I will revisit, the stat that I already said, which is Jacksonville's only got 5 sacks so far. And I like our offensive line in this game based on the way they played against Pittsburgh. I like this as another opportunity for them to gel against a a defensive line that is, while capable, is not, a hammer. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
not like a wrecking ball crew. And I think that's what the O-line needs right now in order to continue gelling, especially with, Jackson Carman in
Right.
there at right guard. And he's going to start, regardless of what we said about Suafilo being on the injury list. Zach Taylor already said
Yeah.
that Jackson Carman will start again at right guard. So I can't believe I'm saying this. I feel good about our offensive line
No.
for this game. And maybe it's not just feel good, like I feel really confident. I guess I just feel good about getting another opportunity to watch them continue to take that next step, see the tackles keep playing the way they're playing, see Carmen and Spain do what they're doing. And I'm looking forward to seeing Trey Hopkins get yet another game under his belt as he comes back from that injury, to being the player that we all know he can be at center when he was a liability in the first two games.
Yeah, I actually, that was the last thing I had offensively, because I had a few defensive notes here. Offensively, I feel good. I feel very optimistic after seeing how Carmen played against Pittsburgh. I feel very good, and it's progress, not perfection. Our line is gelling. It's going to get better each and every week. That's how it's, like I said, progress, not perfection. So we're getting there. Let's think about the Buccaneers last year. Okay. It took Brady and that offense time to gel. When did they really put it all together? Right before the playoffs, last few weeks of the season. And then in the playoffs, they looked unstoppable. That was a different team than you saw the first half of the year. That's how we want to go. Keep building, and then bring it home. So I feel really good about where we're headed there.
Yeah, and it requires a moniker of patience, but and I know that it's sports, so fans don't always have that patience. Yeah. But listen, this is not a Super Bowl team. And I'm sorry for saying that, but it's true. We're not a Super Bowl team, and coming into this year, all we wanted to see was progress. Let's make good, solid progress. Like, let's shoot for a winning season.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't put the cart before the horse. So enjoy this process so that when we do become that Super Bowl team, we can say, I remember when I first saw these guys start to play together. And I remember this one game I watched where I was like, oh, there it is. They're starting to gel. They started to know each other and play next to each other well. That's an enjoyable aspect of sports. I think people tend to skip over it.
Yeah. And I'm going to put a little more optimism, because you were kind of with that comment, which I agree with. You are a cup half empty person. So I'm going to be the cup half full person and tell you this is definitely a possible playoff team if they can keep making progress. If we don't give games like this coming up away, and you've got to close this out. That's why I wanted us to win in Chicago. That was a winnable game. This is a game we should win. We have the Jets, the Lions coming up. Those are games you have to win. Okay. Right. Because we also have the Packers and Baltimore and Cleveland in the next 5. So you've got to punch these games in. This is definitely a possible playoff team. And if you look at my Twitter feed, I tweeted out, I know you love him, Mike Florio's rankings, but he had us at 17. And here was his comment. He said that this was possibly a playoff team now. People are seeing. Rich Eisen had some really great comments to make about us, saying we're one of the more balanced teams. Joe Burrow only threw the ball 20 some odd times. We're not, this is a balanced team now. That's what you want to see. And we're getting there. So I'm going to go with the cup half full. That, yes, that doesn't mean we're not a playoff team.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And please don't mistake this for me saying, just you wait. We're not gonna do any good. Certainly, I'm a fan first, so I'm here for it. I'm here for any of that stuff. You know what I mean? I'll just be more and more excited. You got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and then you got to beat a couple of the teams that you're not supposed to beat in order to get that far. I did want to hop on just because you mentioned Burrow. For anybody that didn't see it, Burrow registered a 90.3 grade on PFF this week. He was the highest rated quarterback in week 3, which is outstanding. And it's because he was so efficient. He was hitting his guys. He only had 4 incompletions on the game. And that's really exciting because we're starting to see that part where he's getting more comfortable out there after coming back from injury, and he's getting a little better every week. And man, once Burrow is back to, what we know he is
Right.
deep down, then boy, look out.
Yeah. So, and then we'll jump into our defense and rookie QB that we're facing, because they play hand in hand. If any of you watch the flea flicker interception pick six that he had last week, that's a rookie play. We can bait this guy into this. I mean, believe me, he won't be throwing the flea flicker interception, but he forces the ball. He has a tendency of throwing off his back foot. I mean, all the things that rookies do, he's doing, and we can absolutely, I can see Logan Wilson running one in, or somebody, or maybe Von Bell or Bates, baiting him and then reading the play and going in. So we definitely have that. Our defense is gonna, like I said, is a huge advantage for us in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Lawrence. He's got a 54.2 completion percentage so far this season. That's not very good for anybody, rookie or not. I mean, it's to be expected that it's low, but
right.
He's got a 60.3 rating on the year. That's really not good. 5 touchdowns, 7 picks. And I think the biggest stat that jumps out to me for anybody that's watched him in college, which I think is most of the people watching this video, he's averaging 5.7 yards per completion. That's not going to get it done.
No.
That's not going to get it done. And it's sure not going to get it done against us.
Right.
So, like I was saying earlier, they have the capability to pick the ball up in big chunks. And I would not be surprised if that's what Urban Meyer and the offensive coordinator have been trying to do in practice this week, is say, we got to throw the ball a little further, brother.
Right.
We got to throw the ball a little more down the field. So we have to be ready to guard against that.
Right. So, so that was the last thing I have on our good stuff is it's the Ring of Honor game. So, I mean, come on, you can't lose the Ring of Honor game. I mean, stay focused. This is a game where we don't want to be like the Giants, who retired Eli Manning's jersey and then lost the game.
Right.
It's like, it's our Ring of Honor game. So let's go out there and win the game.
And our first one ever, what I mean? We got 4 guys going in, including the guy that created the franchise. So, this is a game that you got to win. I'll be there, screaming and cheering. I'll be in there early for the ceremony and see the Kens go in, and Munoz and Paul Brown. And that's all going to be really exciting. They just need to carry that, emotion over. And I think the Bengals I think they're pumped to play in primetime again, which is really, really exciting. Mixon tweeted out, I think no later than like a half hour after the game on Sunday, he said, Cincinnati, we need everybody in the stands on Thursday night.
Yes.
And I've seen there's been a couple people online, a couple of people paying it forward, where people that already had tickets were going out and buying a ticket here, buying a ticket there, and then just gifting them to other Bengals fans to get the stadium as full as possible on Thursday night. So it should be a rocking atmosphere, and you better believe those Cincinnati fans will be out there drinking early.
Good.
And being ready to have a good time and make some serious noise.
Good. Yeah, I don't know that Jacksonville travels that. It's not like some of these other fan bases, so I don't know.
Jacksonville barely travels to Jacksonville.
Right. So I was going to say, I'm going to travel up north. But and then the last thing, somebody threw out a comparison. I saw this either on Twitter, on Facebook, threw out a comparison about, well, Joe Burrow, what he was able to do last year versus Trevor Lawrence can easily do this. And I was like, Joe Burrow came into a team with a whole lot more around him than Jacksonville. So, in terms of the defense and the skill positions, so because somebody was saying, well, Lawrence could do this and that. I'm like, no, he's not coming into the same situation that Joe Burrow came into last year. So,
well, yeah, and you don't have to look very much further than the guy standing behind the quarterback, which James Robinson had a darling of a year last year, kind of came out of nowhere, running back for Jacksonville,
right?
And that's all well and good and lovely, but Joe Mixon, he is not.
Right.
He is not Joe Mixon. And this year, I think he just had a 100-yard day on Sunday. And prior to that, he only had like 60 yards in the first 2 games combined.
Well, we
So,
shut down Montgomery and we shut down Dalvin Cook and we
yeah,
just shut down Najee Harris. I can't imagine. And I have Robinson on my fantasy team. He was. I picked him up as an undrafted free agent when they traded Fournette, and he got me to the Super Bowl last year. I rode his coattails, but he's by no means. If we could shut down Dalvin Cook and Najee Harris, we can shut down Robinson.
Well, and particularly because Robinson is really fond of running right up the middle. Like that's what they do. They run the up the gut plays because he's got strong legs. He's a churner. And that plays right into our defensive line strength right now.
Right.
Our only, the only thing we're really lacking in is covering guys out of the backfield. Najee Harris had more catches than DeAndre Hopkins had targets last week.
Right.
Najee Harris had like 18 catches against us or 14 catches against us. That's absurd. You know what I mean?
But that also plays into why the Steelers struggled, because you have all those receivers and your leading receiver and your leading target is because Ben didn't have time to throw. He didn't have time to get to the receivers.
It was most certainly a product of the defense we were playing, and that's great because that means we were able to keep the ball in front of us, which is great. I'm just saying, if Jacksonville decides, well, we're not going to be able to run to the middle, so let's start dumping it off to Robinson on outside. He's already got, I think, 12 catches for 92 yards this season, although he has 2 fumbles through the air. If they kind of attack that the way Pittsburgh eventually did out of necessity, if they make it a part of their game plan, then our linebackers have to stay ready like they have been. You're going to need Pratt and Wilson and Gaither out there ready to make a tackle in the flat, and we need Eli Apple to wrap somebody up once in a while. Well, I'm just going to change the name of this show to the Eli Apple show.
He's one bad apple, man. That's, you know what? We've got a more mobile quarterback. This isn't Ben. Trevor Lawrence can move around. Now, my feeling is, well, we face Lamar Jackson twice a year, so we're pretty familiar with mobile quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield doesn't exactly stand still in the pocket. So we're used to dealing with guys that move around. So we just have to be aware that we looked really good because part of it was because Ben couldn't move. I mean, he's as fixed to the ground as a quarterback could be. So I'm really looking, like I said, I want to be aware of that. All right, let's jump right in. Give us your game prediction here.
I think it's interesting. This the money is on Cincinnati right now, big time. This game opened with the Bengals favored 4.5. It is already at 7.5.
Right.
It opened at 49 and has already dropped down to 46.
Right.
So people were betting the under because you always bet the under on Thursday Night Football. I mean, it's a much safer bet. Right. If you're going to bet it. I don't bet the totals on Thursday anyway. I only bring those things up because I think 7.5, even if it's just the money that's pushing that line, I think it makes a lot more sense. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it makes quite enough sense. I'm taking the Bengals 27-13.
All right. I actually had a similar score, and I had it at 27-9. So I think they get a field goal and a touchdown, and then they go for a 2-pointer because they're already behind and doesn't. But I had us there. Also, I want to point out the first half bet is -4. And the money line is 260. So you can tease the first half, or you can bet the first half. And then remember, you could tease this game at basically money line. So if you're doing a multi-team teaser, throw the Bengals in at -0.5. And basically get a money line in there, because I really feel, obviously I'm not alone. The betting public really feels like the Cincinnati should win this game.
Yeah, they're all over Cincinnati on this one, the betting public and the sharps. I mean, we'll see if it moves any more in the opposite direction yesterday. I don't know. I don't expect it to. I expect it maybe to even go to 8.5 by game time. Right. I think people are still plunking money on the Bengals.
Yeah, well, and that's what you got to remember. The betting lines have anything to do with what you say, what I say, what any of these ESPN says. This is all about where people putting their money. It's real simple. It just, you want to see what the betting public's doing, just watch where it opens. I never saw it at 4.5. So if it opened at 4.5, it jumped immediately because I checked it Sunday night. It was already 7.5 for me.
Yeah.
So that must have jumped immediately. I'm wondering who walked into a casino and dropped $100,000 on the money line.
Exactly.
You know, that's how stuff moves that fast. So somebody
it does.
4.5. Great, I'll buy down a half point. Here's 100,000, minus 140 or something instead of the minus 110 because he bought the point.
Might as well.
No, that's how the line moves. So
well, I like our chances, and I feel really good about this game. And Jacksonville, even on defense last week against Arizona, they give up 200-yard receivers. I don't see why we can't do the same thing.
No.
Couldn't even tell you which two receivers it'll be. One of them's probably going to be Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Now there's been news about teams doubling Jamar Chase because he talked about how he's only seen single coverage, and you have to play. Mike Golick had commented about, you have to. I don't care who you are coming out of college, you have to come in and you have to earn that double team. Well, I think Jamar Chase has done enough to earn the double team. What that's going to do from a fantasy perspective is it'll open up the offense for the rest of the guys. Mm-hmm. So it's not a bad thing to have Jamar Chase doubled. Just Burrow needs to say, okay, no problem. You're going to double Chase. That means Boyd is on single coverage, Tate, Thomas, whoever else it is. That means Mixon's on single. It's just going to open up the rest of the offense. So, and that's why it'd be nice to have Higgins back. We don't know if he's back yet, but certainly I think we have enough horses in the stable to win. I wanted to mention Mixon, and I'll do so really quickly. Obviously, everybody knows he is still ranked second in the NFL in rushing yards, behind Derrick Henry by I think 60 or 70 yards. But Henry had one monster game. Right. Yeah, that Seattle game.
He's had all good games, but he had one monster one.
No, the Seattle.
But, I was really surprised when I was looking at stats today. Joe Mixon has 6 catches on 7 targets through 3 games. Really thought he'd be being used a little more than that in the passing game. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to mix him in a little more on this one.
Yeah, let's see. I'm starting him. So he's my RB1 on my team.
Got it.
All right. Well, once again, tell everybody where they can find your stuff.
Sure. Primetimesportstalk.com. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You or at Talk Primetime.
All right. And Sam will actually be at the game Thursday night. We will put up our recap video. We're going to film it and we'll put it up Friday morning. We're going to record it in the morning. So it'll be up sometime Friday in the morning time, Pacific time. So probably lunchtime, afternoon for you East Coasters. So
turn those notifications on when that bell rings.
That's right. Make sure when you hit the subscribe, if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications too. We want you to subscribe. And if you want the alerts, there you go. So with that, I'm going to say, hoo-day, everybody. And we will talk to you after the Jacksonville game. Take care.